Welcome into Dynasty Mode, the unofficial EA Sports college football video game podcast. My name is Arky Shade. That is Demetri Ravanos. Demetri, this podcast is all about, coming to a reckoning, actually, with the college football video game delay news. And believe me, it's a delay. And
Yeah.
also some original reporting from Demetri Ravanos
From
himself.
little old me?
Little old you doing the Lord's work, doing a little journalism with a capital J, son.
Indeed.
Not a capital J, son. It's J.
Yeah,
comma,
no, I don't
son.
know if you heard the dictionary announced today. It is J-cernalism now. I was part of a media gathering to talk up the last college game day of the regular season and got the chance to ask two questions, only one about the video game, but I got to ask Kirk Herbstreit. And this, by the way, was recorded the day the news dropped that the game had in fact been delayed. So you will hear me in this clip mention, I can tell by your reaction that you are disappointed. Kirk had not heard officially that the game had been delayed, and when I told him, he put his head in his hands.
Well, we will play that for you coming up in just a few minutes. And also we have some comments from people reacting to our podcast last week, most importantly about the game being delayed. And I'm going to be honest with you, Demetri, the comments I'm going to show, and there are a bunch of them, not a ton of happiness.
Interesting.
A lot of anger.
Do you think EA was counting on at least some subgroup of fans being like, oh, fuck yeah, take your time, get it right?
Yeah, that's what they were hoping for. It's like, oh man, we teased this. You know what they want? To wait longer when they probably will be dead.
Longer, yes.
Yeah. It's at least 3% of the excited population that will not make it to the release date.
Can we tie this to some sort of political conspiracy that they're holding it off for July of 2024 to help someone win the election?
Who would
I don't know who. I don't know which political side EA
well, it
Sports
depends. Like so we have an incumbent president,
right?
And we have the possibility of the return of an orange president,
right?
Or a very white-booted Floridian governor. So
sure,
I don't know who it. I actually don't know who it helps. I mean,
I don't know.
Ron and he, like is in Florida, so maybe.
Maybe that's
is
this it? Is it going to be? Is it going to be giving Ron DeSantis the opportunity to say, "Look what I brought back to you, people"?
Besides sexy,
besides just rocking a good rain boot, a galosh.
Gosh, those were like elite. I will not be talking about that further on this podcast. Instead, I want to talk about the delay of this here video game, and I have for you what I call a printout.
Yes,
it's a very technical term I have, and that actually there were two stories done about this game on the same day by the same guy. It was Michael Rothstein. And you know what was funny? Like I was waiting, expecting 9 a.m. Central Time for the drop of the news.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any of the usual sources drop. And the next thing you know, I look over at ESPN's website. Boom, there's the story. And you're like, what? Stop giving it to ESPN. They don't care. they don't care. I mean, you may be a partner with them, but don't give it to ESPN. Don't give it to Matt Brown. Give it to us. I mean, you can give it to Matt Brown, but give it to us. Anyway, so I want to get some of the news that we did learn about this delay out, and then also get your response to it. We won't spend the whole podcast on this because we do have the Kirk Herbstreit audio coming up in just a moment, and your comments as well. By the way, feel free to rate all the comments by giving them a thumbs up afterwards, and subscribe to the podcast. By the way, subscribe to the podcast. So Daryl Holt, which is the name you want if you're the EA Sports Vice President and General Manager. I don't know why you get both titles. Talking about the date itself, and he did say that according to Michael Rothstein and their reporting going back and forth, said that's the best date for us to bring the game that we think is going to meet or exceed our player expectations, end quote. I am going to be on the record here with Demetri, and I'll just start it here. If this game has any shot at exceeding my expectations, it's going to be the most amazing game I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, if it is at this point, anything other than that is almost unacceptable.
Yeah. Holt also said that any earlier release dates were just conjecture and that the game has not been delayed. Demetri, That's hogwash.
That is a big bowl of hogwash salad, Arky. I understand that EA never publicly commented on the date that was out there, but the July 2023 date did not appear out of nowhere. It was not taken from pure internet conjecture.
No, it was sent in documentation to the universities
Right.
in an effort to get their assets for the game. So, again, some schools would rather not send you a MP3 file or at least a description of the file, whatever. But they were given the this notice in January or February of 2021, right? Not this year, but last year. It said, okay, here's our plan. You got some time. Here's the kind of stuff we're going with. We also want to pay players. I know you guys are working on that, blah, blah, blah. But we are expecting to release this in July of 2023. And to say anything other than this game is being delayed, to say that it was never had that date, is hogwash.
It is hogwash. And this is one of those things where this is a comment for the people learning about the delay on ESPN. There are not enough of us. And look, this is an unfortunate truth. There are not enough of us that have Matt Brown's Twitter handle set to alert that it comes across your phone like a text message whenever he tweets something.
But we have 318 subscribers now. Thank you for sharing. Continue to share and tell people about us. That should have told the majority of the public.
Yeah, that's a good point. If the rest of the world did not know at this point, it is your fault, listener or viewer. I think that EA knows that this is pretty low on the priority list right now for the average gamer because it is so far away. That, who cares if people refute them publicly? Not enough people are listening.
I don't even know. Let me just start by saying this, okay? Why say this now before I get to the rest of this? Why tell us the week of the biggest rivalries in the sports? Why not wait until after the national championship, perhaps, when the interest starts to cool? Maybe they think the anticipation is going to be too high. We have such a college football boner now.
Arky.
Why throw ice on it?
Buddy, people are going to be paying attention after the national championship game. The whole point is for it to get lost in the news cycle for football of rivalry week and for the gamers of the fact that EA just dropped a huge FIFA update to get you the World Cup. Well, I guess sports gamers, I should say.
I don't care about the FIFA sticker collecting update that they have.
Arky
stickers.
Wow, I didn't realize you hated America so much.
I don't, but by the way, those were invented in Italy. Okay, relax. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing anymore.
By the way, on whatever day it was that the U.S. played England, we were in Shenandoah National Park doing some hiking, doing some walking, and I had it on the old satellite radio. My son openly rooting against the U.S.
Oh, that's awesome, right? On the day after Thanksgiving, your son is rooting against...
he's rooting for the Redcoats.
I guess he's rooting to get us back to our roots. Honestly, that is wonderful. Tell him I said thank you. And all the memes about an eagle looking as awesome as possible and running around chugging beer, I guess they're not for him,
No, they're not.
They're for somebody else.
He just walks in like any good British lad and says, "Good day."
Well, he's your kid. He does have that history of Greek in him. Holt also said that one of the reasons that they're still delaying this, wink, wink.
Arky, there's no delay.
No.
There's no delay.
The reason they are emphatically announcing the release date, which, by the way, still isn't a date. That's right. It's a year. It's a year and a season. He said that they're still trying to figure out how to use real college football players in the game. Of course, this is a change. We still, as we mentioned in the last podcast, we still don't have the collectives figured out as far as the collective bargaining sort of mass amount of players to be able to do a mass licensing deal like this, which is a real concern, right?
No.
But it also is, as we've sort of talked about on the podcast and interviewed people about, you don't need forever to get that. So if that was the one thing, you could have kept on trucking and, making the truck stick come back. Like, you could have kept doing that up until about late spring.
It's also why I don't believe it was the one thing, is because I think that that is not going to be the thing that holds this up. The game has never had real players before. It is something that is capable of being downloadable content. You could even make it a free download once it all comes together. The issues, I think, are bigger than something EA could control, be it supply chain, be it what they have gotten back in terms of appetite for this game in various formats. I don't know, but the issue has to be bigger than something EA could control by July.
It's also reported that now the college football game has secured the rights to all 10 FBS conferences and the college football playoff. Not all the teams are accounted for yet, or at least Holt, the vice president, was intimating that he didn't want to comment the number, which means there's still some holdouts, clearly.
It seems like Stanford is really holding their ground, that they are not going to participate in this NIL thing at all.
Well, they're not going to participate in football anymore either. Have you seen the team? Woof.
Yeah,
you were dead on when we were talking about this before. What a massive failure these last 2 years have been. And unfortunately, the sponsored head coaching vacancy, it's there for Stanford. Did you see that press release where it was like the Kevin G. Fry Memorial head coaching, like a leader of men coaching vacancy is now open?
I didn't see that one, but I know that Jim Harbaugh's title is something like that too, if I remember right.
You know what you're going to make me do? You're going to make me look that up. And while I look that up, I do want to tell you that Holt also said, as far as the exact date, and I want to revisit this when we talk about the Kirk Herbstreit audio, is that they still have options as far as when the game comes out, because they talked about Madden usually comes out in August, FIFA in late September, and NHL in mid-October. That they still haven't
talk at all.
They haven't committed to an exact date right now, and I want you to sort of, I guess. First, let me just get your thoughts on that. Does that make you think we're not heading toward what had become the norm, a July release?
No, it tells me that they have kicked it down the road to 2024. They don't even have to think about the date right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish you talked a couple more seconds, because I was looking for... By the way, they've done a lot of retweeting of people's moments on here since they posted. Okay. Stanford's Bradford M. Freeman, director of football, David Shaw, announced following Saturday's game that is
Bradford
a
M. Freeman. One of the greatest football coach sponsors maybe ever, Arky.
It's one I know of. It is the one that I know of as of this moment. Here's what I thought was interesting, because this will actually, I'm gonna read this first, and then we'll get to the biggest part. The game.
Sorry, just very quickly. The J. Ira and Nikki Harris Family University of Michigan head football coach.
Oh, well, at least you got head football coach, right?
Yeah.
What was his leader of men? What was it again?
Director of football.
Director of football. Sure. The game is being made in Maitland, Florida. Sweet. And we'll use the Frostbite engine. Now, we sort of intimated and discussed that they're going to use the same engine. Everyone's worried about a reskin. By the way, Holt uses the phrase clone. It's not going to be a Madden clone. But everyone's worried about using a Madden reskin. The Frostbite engine is interesting to me because so many people, what's the word I can, loathe it, right?
I think going against the Frostbite engine would have been something that would have instantly sold this for people. Like, okay, fine. Like, if we're reinventing what we're doing here, then I can wait a year.
And you instead, you're like, this will not be the Frostbite engine, but it will be Super Nintendo Zelda.
That's right.
So, hey, you fuckos didn't want the Frostbite engine.
That's right.
You don't get it.
That's right. Now every player, instead of going for a touchdown, can't get in the end zone unless they have a Mario star. How about that? Fuck you.
Yeah, how about that, huh? You happy?
That's right. Yeah, we can't use the Frostbite engine. This is Mario Kart now. Hope you're happy.
You did this. So what's also interesting about that is that they talked so much about this being built, and it's mentioned multiple times in either the press release-ish that you sort of got, at least that Matt Brown was reporting on, they actually put on his newsletter. I don't know if they ever got it on their website, to be honest with you. But they kept using the phrase build from the ground up, right? And to me, I know it takes years to sort of build a new engine, right? Like it's a lot of effort. They've had years.
Agreed.
Right? So like if it's just going to be taking a current engine and dismantling it completely, spend the last year or so and this year and now next building a new engine. I know it sounds a lot more, a lot easier coming out of someone who doesn't build engines and doesn't have the money or the knowledge to do so. But this didn't just come up. I feel like this had to have been in the back of their mind because it was in the front of your mind.
Right.
Not the Frostbite engine. That just that it would take a long time to be able to do this the right way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that there is some leaning on the fact that just getting it back is the right way in a lot of the hardcore fans' minds right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations. You get Mario Kart. How's that?
Yep.
So, you guys won it. Okay. All right. Enough of that joke. It wasn't funny the first time. It's not funny now. You know what I think is funny,
well, let me ask you this. Speaking of funny, how much would you pay for a version of Mario Kart that instead of the Mario Land or the Mushroom Kingdom characters is all college football coaches?
Coaches. All the college football coaches. That's a $30 buy. Sure.
30?
Yeah. Are you willing to pay more?
Yeah, I'd go 50.
You'd go 50 just to see like Brett Bielema bump up against like Nick Saban.
Well, give me Brett Bielema dressed as Wario. Yes.
Sorry, dressed up at my fault. Yes. So, who is Princess Peach? Is that Dabo?
No, I don't know why. I feel like Dabo would be Toad. Dabo just looks like he's got nothing going on up there, just happy to be there.
Yeah, because Nick Saban had to be like the Mario, right?
Yeah, Shane Beamer is Princess Peach.
Right, Shane Beamer. Who would be your Bowser?
Man, who would be
Who's the villain that's just
maybe Harbaugh?
Yeah, maybe like it just represents like the ugliness of Hugh Freeze.
Because here's the thing: like there is a dastardly.
Oh, do they have to be current? Because I was gonna go Art Briles for a moment.
No. Here's the thing: like
that DLC baby.
Bowser's not like totally hateable. Bowser's sort of he's a big doofus doomed to fail.
Yeah, but he's a star thief.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like he's a star thief and he covers it up.
All right, fair.
Okay. And he defends himself quite nicely. He's like, well, I can't really do this.
He gets in your DMs.
He does. Well, see, now I'm going, but now my Art Briles or Hugh Freeze?
No, well, here's my question for you, and then we can move on. How many direct messages have you received from Hugh Freeze in your life?
The same number from Bowser.
Really?
Yeah, Hugh Freeze doesn't reach out to me. I don't defend him. I never say anything about the guy. So like, why would he just like? You know how much I care about Hugh Freeze? I care as much about Hugh Freeze as I care about the next sneeze I'm going to have. It just never comes up.
You just can't wait for it.
No, it just suddenly pops up. And you're like, oh, Hugh Freeze. Excuse me. Crap, I got to deal with that now.
I thought that everybody that ever worked in media around college football had a story of Hugh Freeze finding them on the internet.
No, I think that's all fake. I think that's all Photoshop stuff. You know what I mean?
All right, fair.
I think a lot of people are out to get Hugh Freeze. A lot of people.
Sure.
Too many people.
That's right.
A lot of people. Y'all need to chill out on Hugh Freeze. All right. Listen, he uses his own money. So
he DM'd me one time to say he was like Ric Flair.
Now see that's a good one. Like that's one I'd frame. In what way? Talking like the massive dong way?
No, he hang on.
The Space Mountain way?
Let me pull it up. Hang on.
The way he likes to bang the ladies?
Here we go. Definitely Ric Flair, brother, the nature boy. Gotta love him. Blessings to you, but your perception of me and the things that happened are way off. Blessings to you. Yes. I believe I compared him to the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase on a podcast. Ted, he heard that podcast? That's all I can figure.
Unsolicited. Okay, I like that.
I think we must have mentioned him in the tweet to promote it. And he had to have listened to know that my partner said that he was like the nature boy, and I followed up with, this guy is definitely Ted DiBiase.
What if he had not heard it and like his only response was, "I appreciate the love, man." It's completely out of context. Like, hey,
Arky, what if he had not heard it and he just tweets people to let them know that he loves Ric Flair occasionally? Maybe we've had the guy all wrong.
Hey, what are the odds you think Hugh Freeze hears this?
Are we going to put his name in the tweet? Probably pretty good.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, definitely very good.
Okay, good. Listen, and I'm not saying this just to get a message from Hugh Freeze.
No.
I don't know the guy. I've never gone to his church. I don't know anybody. I have nothing to say bad about him or good about him. Like, personally, no interaction. So,
yeah,
is he going to coach football? Sweet. That's all I care about, right? Because that's how we sports wash everything. I think that says something bad about him. I don't mean it, Hugh. I don't.
Wow,
I don't. Let's
Arky.
be buddies.
Arky, he's a man of the Lord.
Listen, I said this before, and I'll say it again. And I don't care. Okay, at this point, y'all haters get after me in the comments. I think he's a good coach. All right, can I move back to the game? Can I move? The announcers. That was something that was brought up by Rothstein in this discussion, and Holt, the vice president of Electronic Arts, would not say if they were interested in going in the NBA 2K series way, which has different announce teams for different games, or whether they're going to go for the Madden, where it's just one announce team throughout the game. Of course, this will lead us into the Kirk Herbstreit stuff in a minute. But the fact that he was very secretive, and I don't know why you give such a delay if like you have nothing to tell me else just to get me like excited. But the fact that like that this could still be on the table, that we get what you and I like, which is these options as far as broadcasters, I feel like that's a small positive sign at this point. Am I reading too much?
Arky, I tell you what, this is a good time to play the comment from Kirk Herbstreit, because I think there is an answer in here. I really do. Or I should say, I think there's an answer to your question in here.
Okay, well then let me play this. This is Demetri Romano speaking to Kirk Herbstreit at his Seaside Estate earlier last week, Monday, Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. And then real quick before I let you go, because given the day we are talking, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the college football video game. Because
week, what was their press? Did they do their press conference? What did they say?
They said that we are waiting until the 2024 as opposed to 2023, as a lot of people. It is so that answers my first question. Obviously, you are disappointed about it, but last week, David Pollack just came right out and said, I don't care what I'm supposed to say. I'm in the next video game. Reese danced around it a little bit, so I've got to ask you: are you a part of the next video game? You are an iconic part of something that's an icon to a generation of college football fans.
Bill will have to answer that. I'd love to be a part of it. I started with Bill Walsh college football in 1992. So one of the great thrills of my life, Joey Galloway is my playing partner for forever. And one of the great thrills from my life was when NCAA asked me to be the voice of it, along with Coach and Brad Nessler years ago. I can't remember the first year, but honestly, that to this day, 27 years in this industry, being on that game was one of the coolest things for me, because I was a big time gamer of it. And it started to become weird when Joey and I would be playing and I'd be saying some of these lines. But yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. It's a lot of work, to do the voiceover work, but it would be a thrill to be able to be involved in that coming back. I've never seen a fan base more excited for a video game potentially to come back than this game, so it's great to hear it's definitely coming back. I wish it were for next season, next August. We got to wait around and wait, but fingers crossed I'll be involved in it.
Yeah, as someone that still plays the 10-year-old video game, I'm right there. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
All right, Arky, I want to point something out, and people that have never worked in the media will not know this. When he says Bill would have to answer that. That is
Bill Walsh.
No, that is not Bill Walsh. That is Bill Hoffmeyer that he is talking about. Bill is the PR guru, maybe of all college sports, but definitely of college football at ESPN. If Bill knows the answer to whether or not Kirk is in this game, that tells me ESPN is very heavily involved in this video game.
I'd like to comment with a few comments.
Please.
One, I think Kirk Herbstreit definitely taking that pause right before answering it and then shoving it off to someone who is, I guess if you were the several people that may have been on that call, more than several people on that call. Were you the only one that asked about college football video games?
I was the only one that asked about the video game, but yeah, I mean, there were like 22 of us on the line, and Bill, very nice man. Bill was watching like a hawk everything that was asked.
Okay. Oh, so this is a video call. I like that.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I think that tells us exactly what we need to know.
Yep.
Without telling us that Kirk Herbstreit is highly involved with this new video game, probably as a playable character only.
Sure. He's the Stanford tree.
He is. So Kirk Herbstreit's in the game. So that is exactly what I take from that. Because listen, you brought it up in the question, and I thought it was great that you just straight up called David Pollack out for being like, "Hey guys, you totally in the game."
So here's what I mean by ESPN is heavily involved in this game. I don't think it is a coincidence, given that if you really are following the progress of this game and coming back, there's our podcast, there's Matt Brown, there is Chris Vanini. These are three different entities that have dedicated serious space to talking about and reporting what is going on with this game. The fans of this game know those entities and where to get that information. You do this on ESPN because there is something in place with ESPN. You do this with ESPN because you are building hype for the aftermath of the announcement. I really think whether this is multiple announce crews, whether it is a more robust studio experience, ESPN, to me, like, this is a pretty good sign. ESPN is going to be a serious part of this game experience.
I told you my dream is to be able to have a Fox game, an SEC network game, whatever, right? But I'm clearly at this point hearing into that and hearing what you said, that it sounds to me clear that what they talked about in sort of the back and forth with Michael Rothstein in the ESPN piece is that they want a really immersive experience. Mm-hmm. Now, doesn't take us much as college football fans to get what we would call an immersive experience. But if you're leaving it on the table that multiple broadcast people might be able to be a part of this, and ESPN is at least part of this that we know it confirmed, right? It's at least part of it's confirmed. ESPN is in no way letting that relationship with EA mix with a Fox or anybody else. I can't see that for the life of me being a thing. So then real quick to add on to that experience, I think you're right. I think we're looking at the dream of having multiple announced teams, but they'll be ESPN family members.
Yeah. So look at what happened today as we record this on November 28th. Look at the announcement ESPN made today. As of, 2023, the 2023-2024 basketball season, the Big Ten ACC Challenge is no more. Why? Because it was an ESPN entity, and ESPN is not going to be sharing that event with Fox. It's now the ACC SEC Challenge.
Because the ESPN has the ACC for the next 200 years.
That's right. And they have the SEC starting in, they have enough of the SEC's inventory now, but starting in 24, they have all the SEC inventory. Yep. I think that we have entered this phase of college sports. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is just a reality. We have entered this phase of college sports where there is no playing nice with each other anymore. It would have been awesome to get a game that gave you multiple network broadcast crews. It would have been awesome to bring back Brad Nessler to pair with Kirk Herbstreit to give us the experience we used to have. That's not the world we live in anymore.
Now, unless Brad Nessler resigns with ESPN in the next 6 months or so.
Oh, good.
He'll
He'll be the hot new thing at age 71 for another network.
Hey, listen, doesn't mean he has to be the number one guy at this point. Come on now. Come on. Like, I know he's not just happy doing like the 5 and 6 Auburn Tigers versus the Alabama win 6 games this year?
I want to say 4. 4 I remember.
Yeah. Bad Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, so one other thing on the Kirk comment, and then I'll move on from it to your guys' comments. My appreciation for Kirk Herbstreit in the clear, absolutely crystal clear hyperbole of saying I've never seen a fan base want a game back so badly, because something tells me Kirk Herbstreit hasn't been a big fan of a lot of games that have been discontinued for 10 years to come back.
That's fair.
He's like, I've never seen this because you've never seen it.
I would be interested to know, because Kirk gave me the impression he likes video games, or at one point liked video games. I would be interested to know, like, how deep does that go? Like, does he have very serious memories about when PlayStation finally brought Metal Gear over? I don't know.
I think the offseason deserves a little bit of an interview request from us to ESPN and to Kirk
Herbstreit. How much do you know about Banjo and Kazooie?
Either one. We'll take anything you can give us.
Quit fucking around, Kirk. Give us your hottest Earthworm Jim take.
Oh, well, my hottest Earthworm Jim is the Earthworm Jim 2 was superior.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Kirk, how far did you get in Battletoads?
Can I say at the very end of that is a comment that I thought was very interesting? Maybe.
Okay.
Did you hear when he said at the end is that the fact that he was hoping it'd come back next August, now we'd have to wait another year or so to be able to get it? Did you hear that as he was expecting it to be like maybe an August release, or maybe he just assumed August was a thing, and like I said, he doesn't remember when Earthworm Jim was dropped, so he's not going to remember the last time.
So I'm glad you brought this up, Arky, because I have thought about that particular comment about 3,000 times since we had it. I just told you we were up in Shenandoah National Park, and when you're in the national parks with your family and doing some hiking, inevitably everybody walks at a different pace, right? Everybody walks at a different pace, and so you end up on these hiking trails by yourself, family in sight, but you're not next to each other and talking. And there was a time when my wife looked at me, and I was looking down at the ground muttering, and she was concerned that something was wrong, and I was literally going over in my head, did he know that it was supposed to come out in August? Was there does this shock him? Did he not? Is he telling the truth? Was he pulling my leg that he didn't know what the announcement was?
I think it could have even been better if he said like November, but no, he did say August. So
or if he had just said, I don't know, whenever they play football.
Or if he said, like, I already submitted the stuff, whatever they want to do.
But again, only Bill knows if I'm in it.
Yeah, I don't think that's nothing. Okay, I don't think that's nothing for someone who was a gamer since '92, right? Since Bill Walsh in '92, he knows that this has been for the last, I think, 9 iterations of it. Came out in July. Now, again, it's been a decade. Maybe he just forgot, and college football doesn't really happen until the very end of August.
So Arky,
he conflates.
I'm going to throw another idea out there to you.
All right.
Is it possible that because he was in the game for however many years, he got his copy early? So he doesn't really know. He doesn't really have an idea of when the game came out. He just knows when he gets his. And in his mind, people start getting serious about college football in August. It must come out in August.
I don't think any of these can be completely discounted as theories that could be the truth.
Also, if Joey Galloway is his gaming partner, maybe that's when poor ass Joey Galloway gets his copy.
Oh, Joey, come on, man. Is August his birthday month? Is that why he's got to wait till he gets birthday money to get the game?
My birthday month.
Come on now. Well, I mean, you're going to get the game ahead of August, I think. Right?
Yeah, but I make Joey Galloway wait until it's my birthday to get the game.
That's right. Okay. All right. Let's wrap this in with some of your comments. If you have comments for this week's episode and some of the stuff we discussed, put them down, obviously, in the comments section below this video.
This really does feel like old message boards about 24 and Lost. Like, oh, the way his clock ticked, the way his second hand moved. That's got to mean something, right?
Yeah, right. We might use your comments on next week's episode. But first, let's get to some of the ones from this week, including some fresh faces that have chimed in, including Ladarius, who says they better not come out with pre-order then, because the way they've been acting about this game, I'm not going to buy until I can literally walk in a store and see it behind glass. I hope nobody falls for their pre-order stuff either. Like, to be honest, they shouldn't have announced the return at the time that they did. Well, I mean, technically, I guess it's probably true. Although if they didn't do that, we probably wouldn't have created this podcast then, right?
Fair.
So, like, there is some good that came out of it. That sort of tease got this podcast wheels growing. So,
but look, Ladarius, I think, speaks for a lot of people now. Like, putting this off for a year, I'm not pre-ordering this thing. I'm not downloading this thing. I'm walking into a store.
Demetri, you can get all the helmets.
Listen, Arky, I'm going to download it. I have the digital-only edition of the PS5. I will download it, but I will wait for my buddy Jason, who lives nearby, to show me he has the physical copy before I give money to download it.
Wait, so he's going to be the first adopter? Like, he's going in and he's going to have to bring it to your house and be like, here you go, this is it. Show it maybe at your Ring doorbell. This is it. It's here.
I might schedule a gentleman's lunch that day.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
This from OVO that XO. I think that's how you pronounce it. They had 30 months to do this and released 2 Maddens in the span of this game. Incredible. Not untrue.
Yeah.
That does hurt my feelings. That if you're still going to use the Madden engine, and you knew
that is, when you put it that way, that is fucking cruel.
Like, if you're building a whole new engine, maybe you can be a little murky with the details. But if you're not, and you're just going to break down 1 yard of God.
Let me say this, Arky, if this delay is specifically to get all of the Tulane uniform options in, it is worth it.
It might be. From IE Big Cat, this is horrible news, guys. Hope you are healing well, D, and wish the best for your pops, Arky. EA needs to drop a gem for this. And does anyone know if 2K will still make NFK arcade game that will still come out in 23? I'm very upset with EA because they could have released something and added patches just to keep us going. However, I fear that laws and contracts and big political changes coming in the next 2 years and make it much more challenging to finalize a great and complete college football game. EA, get your stuff together. He didn't say stuff, but my son's in the house now. I'd rather not. Although I did say the F word earlier pretty solidly.
So here's my question. Is he talking about like political changes in the country or political changes with the NCAA?
No, I think he means the country. I think if Ron DeSantis becomes president.
Oh, sure.
There will be no EA game.
That's right. That's right. Because he's going to turn EA into a factory making galoshes.
That's right. Well, I mean, he's very business friendly. No, I think he means with the NCAA, right? Like I think
that's the way I read it, but I want to make sure I understand it correctly.
Big Cat, tell us if we're wrong. But I think that's how he makes it, and I think he's right too. If they'd just given us an updated version of like what college football revamped is right now, we would have been fine. Like if I didn't get Bryce Young, if I didn't get all these players, like if I need to wait another year to get it, sure. If there's some initial issues, which still, by the way, the game wouldn't come out till next July anyway. You got still more time. Some patches, some fixes. Sure, you always have the initial bugs. We would have been fine. Like, we've been really, really happy. Now we're all
I've been saying it from the get-go. Real players is not a necessity. It is a great thing. It is a luxury. It is not a necessity.
I think it's a luxury, but I think the bad part is for EA, it is a necessity at this point. They have become like they're on that train now. Like this is their hill that they're going to die on. We're going to bring back this great game, but we're going to do it with the current players.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But if you can't figure out the current players, I'm still screwed out of a good football product. I'm still playing on an emulator right now.
Yeah.
This from Andre Patterson says, "Man, I was looking forward to this game. This sucks."
You suck, Andre. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I agree.
Yeah, no. He said we're
sorry.
good.
That many exclamation points sets me off.
Yeah, it did feel aggressive, and you just don't really know where the aggression is coming to until you take a second to think about it. From AP 1974 said episode 34, the day or episode that I say of infamy. He says this has been coming for quite some time. EA has a mountain of issues to solve. NIL is not sorted out. Not all the schools are signed. They don't have all the assets. They still have positions not filled on the studio in Orlando. After I heard the news earlier in the evening, I texted my buddy at EA, and he said they have known for weeks that summer 2023 was not going to happen. Demetri isn't that far off on his theory of using the other, quote, happenings as air cover. I will still maintain that the original game was going to be a straight Madden reskin, and they couldn't even pull that off in 2.5 years. It is a massive undertaking that most people have no understanding of. Your next podcast should be exploring the realistic possibility, however depressing that is, that the game never comes out. I say that possibility is 0. Because then this podcast becomes a legitimate just nostalgia project. That's it. It never becomes a current project.
I am saying it is 0 because I do not want to admit that it is not.
You know, I think us saying 0 just to live in denial is probably the best idea at this point.
100%.
From Sakura Red Ram says, well, to be honest, if that means we get another year of this podcast of you guys, I'm fine with that. Sakura Red Ram.
That name's a sex thing, right?
Yeah, maybe. Do I read it backwards? Does it say murder?
Marder.
Arukus. Oh, that's sexy. I actually don't know.
Oh, there's a demon in your room now.
From Coach Smeta Gaming, I feel like my beanbag got donkey kicked.
The fact that he spelled it.
That gets me. My beanbag got donkey kicked. From T Christian said, also looking at the current state of video games and all those companies facing huge backlash for releasing unfinished games, I don't think this team at EA wants to be involved in another controversy seeing their checkered past. I feel as though they're going to be changing the game engine. Well, it's been confirmed that they're not, which I thought if they were changing the engine, that does make sense. But let me posit this one thing before we get to the final comment. The final comment. So my thing is that the reason a deadline exists is forces you to get it done, right? So you're never going to love it completely, no matter what you do. There's always going to be something you think you could adjust, you could fix, or you didn't foresee, blah, blah, blah. If they keep kicking the can down the road because they want this perfect game, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there could be things that come out and we say, hey, this glitch is weird. Maybe they can give us a patch to download and fix it. But if it's about trying to create this perfect game, it's never going to happen. And it doesn't need to happen. You know, none of these games are perfect. They never are.
Yep. I know that people often say that good is the enemy of great, but great can sometimes be the enemy of exactly what we want. You know what I mean?
I do. I really do. And I think you got to take into account how much we will be willing to forgive.
Yep.
As a bloodthirsty fan base of this game, that if it's not as shiny as it could be, I'm going to overlook. We'll talk about it on the podcast, but I'm going to overlook a lot just to get some fresh threads in this game.
Agreed.
And finally,
come on, Gregory.
Gregory says, a mixture of feelings when finding out the delay. On one hand, I'm hopeful that extra year will help making the game good and as unique as possible. I know they're using the Madden engine, but I want this game to be as different and as unique as possible, just like when the creators of the original NCAA series. He also hopes that getting the extra time will get detailed graphics on every stadium, fight songs, so on and so forth. I know in past videos that your sources have said that EA is putting a lot of detail in the game, but I do not trust EA. Man has become a cut and copy S-hole. Even
shithole.
Okay, thank you, Demetri, for getting
my kids are older.
Even the FIFA and NHL series are very lazy, so part of my frustration with EA, and it seems like they never listen to their customers. This past FIFA game has the World Cup in it, but they only put 2 stadiums in it.
Yeah.
They used to make an awesome FIFA World Cup game on its own, and they were amazing, and now very different from the FIFA series. And lastly, I think part of my frustration comes from the fact that the other sport games have also been delayed. 2K was supposed to have an NFL game this year. It's like getting so close to getting a sporting game I really want, and it's 12 months back. or in the case of the World Cup on the FIFA game, there was zero effort put in it. I'm just tired of the same crap from EA year after year. I almost wish someone else was making a college football game. But then I remember the NCAA series and all the thousands of hours I played on those games when I was a kid, and hope those days can return.
All right, let me
The opus from Gregory is now done.
Let me real quick jump into what he said about FIFA, because this jumped out to me as soon as I downloaded it. I'm not talking about the old FIFA games. I'm talking specifically about the World Cup game they would put out every 4 years. You could play with any nation on earth. You could play with Brazil. You could play with Vatican City. And you could go through the 3 years of qualification to even get a spot in the World Cup. This version, and they had all 8 stadiums. Every nation it was in, they had all 8 stadiums. This version, there are the 32 teams in the World Cup. There are another 16 that did not qualify. So you only have 48 teams to choose from. You only get to start at the World Cup. There is no qualification in this. And he's right. There are only 2 stadiums in this game. I attribute that to the fact that this is the last FIFA video game. After this, it is EA, what is it called? EAFC, I believe, is what it's going to be called. I did not want to recognize that as a sign of things to come. And I don't think it's a sign of things to come in terms of the quality, but certainly there is some sort of line, it feels like, here from a very disappointing World Cup presence in FIFA to we don't have all of our ducks in a row to get the college football game out when we told schools it was going to be out.
Yeah, I too. I hope it's not I guess I hope it's not. I hope it's a coincidence and not like a sign of something deeper and more wrong with the system that they're working with. But I'll be honest with you, it does worry me some, like you. It does worry me some. But I think because that there's so much licensing that they've already gotten, so much effort that they've already put in, allegedly. I technically haven't seen the man hours.
Yeah.
So much they keep promising about the immersive experience. Sure, they could just be blowing us off to bring us, an NCAA or a college football, World Cup game, where like all of a sudden we just get the soccer version of this. That they really are trying to make this as good as humanly possible. I just don't want perfection to be the enemy of getting it done.
So you said something there about saying, that this could be the football version of the soccer game. What gives me some comfort is I think we've seen that. I really do think we've seen that. I mean, I will tell you, in the old World Cup games, I used to love playing with the Greek national team because it is legitimately hard. It is a challenge in that game to qualify through UEFA versus, doing it with Team USA and going through a much easier path. I used to love playing that way. So to get this version is really disappointing. I equate this version of the World Cup on FIFA 23 to those little false, hey, college football is back on Madden, where, you play one game or you play one quarter or you don't even play, but there's a video clip that year that there was a story mode and the kid was supposed to be, was it Texas or Oregon? I know Texas and Oregon were the 2 teams in the game.
You can play, I guess, in the playoff, or you get like 6 or 8 teams that you can play in Madden.
Right. So my hope is that we have already seen the World Cup in FIFA 23 version of college football.
Your mouth to God's ears, and to Daryl Holt's ears, and to everyone that's pressing buttons and writing code and making guys look cool, and bringing us back the momentum meter and icing the kicker, and see, what else did you really, really like? Linebackers that jump 12 to 15 feet in the air.
My favorite part of the game.
Yes. Hopefully they focus on bringing those back as opposed to that. I agree with you, but I guess right now we are just hopeful that what they have told us, because it really would have been nice if they had ended, or somewhere in that, told us something that we, as a very responsible broadcast unit, this podcast is, have reported on ad nauseum.
Yeah,
we already have known about the Dynasty mode. We already know about the Road to Glory mode. We already know that, but they gave us literally nothing else.
Yeah,
other than the claim that it was not delayed when it clearly was delayed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Demetri, that's going to do it for us. Appreciate everybody listening to this, but you got to say goodbye to the good people.
Save and sip to next week, everybody.